She detected a human ship on radar, then realized the legend was real. My name is Vesa Korin, and I have worked the sensor station on the patrol ship Hollow Reach for 11 cycles. 11 cycles of quiet space, empty readings, and long shifts where nothing ever happens. That is what I expected when I sat down at my station on the night everything changed. Our ship was a border patrol vessel, small and unremarkable, assigned to watch the edge of a sector everyone called the Silent Line. It was not a place anyone wanted to be posted. The stars here were dim, the space was empty, and the only excitement came from meteor debris or the occasional smuggler trying to slip past the checkpoints. But there was another reason nobody liked this post: the old stories. Every crew that served here had heard them. Whispers about a species that once lived beyond this line, a species that vanished after a war so terrible that even the survivors refused to speak of it in detail. They called them the Quiet Ones, or sometimes just the Humans, though most officers treated the name like something out of a children's tale. A warning to scare new recruits, nothing more. I never believed in ghost stories. I trusted numbers, radar signatures, and clean data. That is why what happened that night shook me so deeply. It began as an ordinary shift. My console blinked with the usual soft green lights, tracking asteroid clusters and old debris fields drifting through the dark. My commanding officer, Captain Rail, was reviewing supply reports at the front of the bridge. 2 other crew members, Doss and Ilna, sat near the navigation console, trading quiet jokes to pass the time. Then my radar picked up something new. At first, I thought it was a glitch. A single point of contact appeared at the very edge of our sensor range, faint and flickering, as if my equipment could not decide whether it was real. I tapped the console, running a diagnostic. The system reported no errors. "Captain," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I have a contact, unconfirmed." Rail walked over, arms crossed. "Debris?" "I don't think so." I zoomed in on the signal. It held a shape, a size, a consistent distance. Debris does not move in straight lines. Debris does not slow down and hold position. It's a vessel. The bridge went quiet. Doss stopped joking. Ilna's hands hovered over her controls, ready to sound an alert. I ran the signature through our database, searching for a match. Every ship in known space carries some kind of profile, a pattern of engine heat, hull material, and energy output that our systems can recognize. I expected an answer within seconds. Instead, my screen returned a single word: unclassified. "That's not possible," Ilna muttered. "Every registered species has a profile on file." "This one doesn't," I said, my throat suddenly dry. I widened the scan, hoping for a clearer picture. The shape on my screen was long, sleek, and strangely quiet. Its engine signature was almost invisible, a whisper instead of a shout. Most ships announce themselves without meaning to, leaking heat and energy into space. This one barely left a trace. Rael leaned over my shoulder, studying the screen himself. "Run it against the archived files, the old ones, from before the border was sealed." I hesitated. The archived files were ancient, rarely opened, filled with records so old that most officers assumed they were outdated or useless. But I searched anyway, scrolling through faded entries and half-corrupted data. And then I found it. A match. Not a perfect one, since the archive file was old and incomplete, but close enough to make my hands go still on the console. The file was labeled with a warning symbol I had never seen before, attached to a single note from a long-retired fleet historian. Human vessel signature. Confirmed sighting, generations ago. Species status unknown. Approach with extreme caution. Do not assume hostility. Do not assume peace. I read it twice before I could speak. "Captain," I said quietly, "I think this is a human ship." The bridge fell into a silence so complete, I could hear my own heartbeat. Doss let out a short, disbelieving laugh, but it died quickly when nobody joined him. "That's a story," Ilna said. "A myth. Something they tell recruits to keep them alert on long shifts." "I know," I said, "but the data doesn't lie." Rail did not laugh. He did not dismiss it either. He simply stared at the screen for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he straightened and gave the order I expected but still dreaded. "Sound a quiet alert. No weapons. No aggressive posture. I want eyes on that ship. and I want to know everything about it before we decide what to do." I nodded, grateful for his caution. Whatever this was, it did not feel like something to provoke. Over the next several minutes, I tracked the vessel as closely as my instruments allowed. It moved with a strange, deliberate grace, adjusting its course slightly whenever it seemed to sense our scans. It never sped up. It never changed direction sharply. It simply continued forward, calm and unhurried, as if it already knew exactly where it was going and had no reason to hide. That was what unsettled me most. Not aggression, not fear, just quiet, steady confidence. "Life signs?" Rael asked. I checked my readings again. One signature. Just one. Strange, though. The ship's size suggests it could carry a crew of a dozen or more, but there's only one. Doss frowned. A ship that big, run by one person? I didn't have an answer for that. I only had numbers, and the numbers made no sense by any standard I understood. We drifted closer, keeping a respectful distance, watching the vessel from a distance our sensors considered safe. I studied every detail I could pull from the scans. The hull was a dark material, almost matte, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. There were no visible weapons, at least none that matched anything in our records. No aggressive energy readings, no sign of shields being raised. It was almost as if the ship did not consider us a threat worth preparing for. "Try hailing it," Rael said finally. Ilna's hands trembled slightly as she opened a comm channel, broadcasting on every frequency we had. "This is Patrol Vessel Hollow Reach. We have detected your presence. Please respond." Static answered. Long seconds passed with nothing but silence crackling through the speakers. I began to think the ship would ignore us entirely, drifting past like a ghost that had no interest in the living. Then, without warning, a voice came through. It was calm, steady, not cold, but not overly friendly either, just plain, direct, and clear. "This is Commander Elias Bren, aboard the vessel Quiet Horizon. We read you, Hollow Reach. We mean no harm." The bridge froze. I stared at the speaker, as if I could see the voice attached to a face. A real voice, a real name, not a legend, not a rumor passed between nervous recruits. A living person, speaking to us from a ship that our own historical records had marked with warnings and question marks. Rael stepped forward, choosing his next words carefully. "Commander Bren, this is Captain Rael of the Hollow Reach. We were not expecting contact with your kind. May I ask your intentions in this sector?" There was a pause before the reply came. "We are passing through. Nothing more. We do not wish to disturb your patrol, and we have no interest in conflict. Your species has been considered gone," Rael said, "for generations." Another pause, longer this time. When the voice returned, there was something different in it. Not anger, not defensiveness, something closer to quiet patience, the tone of someone explaining a truth they had explained many times before. "We chose to withdraw," Commander Bren said. "After the last war, we decided that silence served us better than conquest. We do not seek to rule the stars. We only wish to be left in peace, and we extend the same peace to others, unless given reason to do otherwise." I sat frozen at my station, absorbing every word. The old stories had painted humans as something to fear, something powerful and unpredictable, capable of great destruction. But this voice carried no threat in it, only calm control, the kind that comes from someone who understands their own strength so completely that they no longer feel the need to prove it. "May we ask," Rael said slowly, "why you are only now appearing after so long?" "We have never truly disappeared," Bren replied. "We simply chose not to announce ourselves. Sometimes it is safer, for everyone, if a great power remains quiet." The bridge crew exchanged glances. I could see the shift happening in their expressions, the same shift happening inside me. Fear was still there, but it was changing shape, turning into something closer to respect. "Is there anything you require from us?" Rael asked. "No," Bren said. "We only ask that you continue your patrol as you were. We will be gone from this sector within the hour." True to his word, the ship maintained its steady course, never altering speed, never showing any sign of concern about our presence. I kept my sensors locked on it the entire time, half expecting the readings to reveal some hidden trick. some proof that this was not what it seemed. But the data remained consistent. A single ship, a single crew member, no weapons raised, no aggressive maneuvers, just quiet, confident passage through space that once belonged to fear and legend alone. Before the transmission ended, Bren spoke one more time, his voice steady, without any trace of pride or warning. You will likely doubt this encounter once we are gone. That is understandable. But know this. We do not return to claim anything. We return only to remind those who forgot that peace, once chosen, is not weakness. It is the hardest strength to hold on to. The channel closed, and the ship continued on its path, fading slowly into the dark until my radar could no longer detect it at all. No trace remained, no residual signature, nothing to prove it had ever been there, except the memory shared by everyone on that bridge. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Rael finally broke the silence, his voice quieter than I had ever heard it. Log the encounter, every detail. No one will believe us, but the record should exist. I nodded, my hands finally steady enough to type. As I entered the report, I found myself thinking about the old stories differently than I ever had before. The quiet ones were not silent because they were gone. They were silent because they had chosen restraint over dominance, patience over conquest. That night changed something in me. I had always believed strength meant the ability to win a fight, but watching that ship pass through our sector without so much as raising a shield, listening to a voice that carried more calm authority than any warlord I had ever studied, taught me something different. True strength does not need to prove itself. It simply exists, quiet and certain, waiting patiently in the dark, choosing peace, not because it has no other choice, but because peace is the harder, greater choice to make. I never saw the quiet horizon again, but I never forgot it either. And somewhere out among the stars, I like to believe it is still out there, drifting silently through the dark, watching over a peace it fought hard to keep.